As we all know by now, recently all seven members of the group BTS simultaneously submitted a statement announcing that they would not be submitting to this season's Grammy. And there's been lots of discussion about it, great conversations, in depth conversations. And I just want to just take a moment to talk about why I personally relate to BTS's relationship to the Grammys. I ran around Hollywood, the Hollywood entertainment industry for some 17 years. And when I say that I rolled my eyes when I heard about the Grammys' new Asian category, let me tell you both how hard and why. I think that what grabbed me the most was the idea that BTS could still submit to the main categories and I guess wait for the Academy voters to decide where they belong. And I mean, some voters might simply check the Asian box and feel done, while other voters may look past the meaningful amount of Asian language throughout Arirang and decide it merits Album of the Year, along with the English language albums. And or at least they could get Best Pop Duo Group like BTS's previous nominations if they decided not to submit to the Asian Best Pop Group or Asian category Best Group. Well, that's kind of why their situation reminds me of mine on a smaller scale, of course. But I was and am still a singer-songwriter. But in order to make ends meet, I worked behind the scenes in the music industry and the film industry for many years. And at one point, I worked for a big-time music mogul. And then a few years later, I ended up working for his wife. She was a really sweet, lovely lady. Him, not so much, but I digress. Anyway, one day while I was working for the wife, I played some of my songs for her, and she said, I want to play these songs for my husband, and she did. And he said my music sounded like a mix between Anita Baker and Peter Gabriel, which made sense. I'm influenced by both these amazing artists. And he told me to keep writing, which is producer speak for I'm not ready to spend money on you yet, but maybe someday. So I did. I wrote for a couple of years, well, a few years actually, and also ended up with a nice regular spot on a TV show in the meantime. Anyway, a few years later, I felt ready to try again and dropped the names of this power couple at the record company and got a toe in the door. Well, almost. I was connected to an A&R person who agreed to listen to my CD. He met me in the hallway of the record company, took one look at me, and said, and I quote, "What is it, R&B or jazz?" I think I just stared for a moment and maybe mumbled, "Neither." You see, not only are Anita Baker and Peter Gabriel my influences, but also Sean Colvin, Ricky Lee Jones, quirky Canadian artist Jane Siberry, Melissa Manchester, singer-songwriter who I worked with and toured with for over 8 years. None of them are R&B or jazz, and none of them are black artists either. But the message was clear. These are the boxes you are allowed to tick. Is it R&B or is it jazz? And these are the people who are voting for the Grammys. Never heard from the A&R guy, despite the power couple's previous encouragement. And here's at least one reason why the entire industry is not set up to cross these boundaries. The A&R departments are divided into these categories. And you either listen to country music station or an urban station or pop rock, sometimes catering to different decades within those categories, but those are also divided along these lines. And the award shows, at least the industry, not the fan voted shows, are designed to support those formats. Funnily enough, because of Army, the first BTS song I ever heard was actually on the radio, and it was the only song I turned up that year. I had no idea it was BTS, even though I had heard of them. And it wasn't even until I heard the song like a couple of times that I even realized parts weren't in English. I mean, how many times have you just like not caught the lyrics of a verse? You just figure you didn't catch it. But I remember, we are young and wild and free. And I thought, oh yeah, I like the song. I had heard it before and I turned it up. And then one day I was like, wait, are they singing in a different language? Which actually made me smile. I thought it was cool. But radio brings me to reason number two that I relate to BTS's relationship with the Grammys. I worked at one point on a show with one of the most prolific songwriters of all time. And at the end of the show, at the end of the show that I worked on, I gifted her a CD. And she loved it and wrote to me that she was sending it to the head of a publishing company, a big publishing company. And sadly, though, a few weeks later, I got a note back from her saying that although the head of the publishing company, the music publishing company, thought the songs were very good, she didn't know what to do with them. She didn't know what to do with them. She didn't know what to do with the songs because, well, my face is on the cover of the CD and the songs are not R&B. So there was nothing that she could do with this artist. Would I have won a Grammy by now if I weren't a person of color coloring outside the box? I'll never know. But I do know that I'm proud of BTS. They are disruptors in the best order, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things about them. Western award or no, I'll follow them into the sun.